Thank you and welcome. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Corey Forche, and I'm the Director of Implementation and Programs here at Kids Brain Health Network. I'm thrilled to see so many diverse leaders on the call today. It always feels great to be in a room with so many people dedicated to advancing outcomes for kids with neurodevelopmental disabilities. You'd think having said that so many times, it would just flow off the tongue. Before we get started, I just want to go over some quick housekeeping if I can. We've designed all of these slides to be as accessible as possible. We will be posting the recording so you can share or rewatch at your leisure, and we are always working to be more accessible. So please, if you have any advice or feedback after the session, don't hesitate to share it with us. If you would like closed captioning, you can find that from the More tab on the bottom right of your screen and choose Captions. We will be recording this call and ask that you please use the chat function whenever possible throughout the session to ask any of your questions. If you have an expressive need to speak, we are very happy to answer as well. Just raise your hand and we'll make sure to ask you to unmute and ask your question. We are recording. If you would like, you can choose to hide your camera view, although we're always happy to have your camera on, but we do also ask that you just remain muted throughout the presentation itself. We will do our best to answer any of your questions, and if we don't have an answer today, we will be sure to post an updated FAQ in the coming weeks. Aussi, je sache que nous avons des francophones parmi nous. Le RSCE est un organisme national engagé à faire progresser des projets dans toutes les provinces et bien sûr dans les deux langues officielles. Bien que cette séance se déroule en anglais, des sous-titres traduits sont disponibles aussi et tous nos diapositives seront bilingues. Nous tenons à assurer nos collègues francophones que vous pouvez soumettre vos propositions directement en français pour évaluation aussi. Le RSCE est résolu à améliorer l'accès aux interventions pour toutes les Canadiennes, peu importe leur langue, leur culture ou leur région. I'd also like to share that today I am personally speaking from the unceded, unsurrendered Algonquin Anishinaabe territory, today called Ottawa. The Algonquin Anishinaabe people have occupied and have been guardians of this land since time immemorial, and I am grateful to have the opportunity to be present on this territory where I live, work, and play. KBHN acknowledges that our teams and work spanning this great country is only made possible by the First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people who have been stewards and knowledge keepers of this land and who shared and continue to share the wisdom of the past as a cornerstone for understanding between our respective nations for the present and future generations. I ask everyone to take a moment to reflect on the lands you're calling from today, because reconciliation is a lifelong journey and one to which KBHN is deeply committed. Anytime I have the privilege of sharing a land acknowledgement, I always try to highlight one of the calls to action from the Truth and Reconciliation Committee. And today, just as I did a year ago, I wanted to share the following, which is number 22. We call upon those who can affect change within the Canadian healthcare system to recognize the value of Aboriginal healing practices and use them in the treatment of Aboriginal patients in collaboration with Aboriginal healers and elders where requested by Aboriginal patients. KBHN has taken this to heart and made it a priority through our upcoming launch of an Indigenous funding stream, which we'll share a little bit more about later on. I'll keep us moving just to highlight that we have a wonderful slate of speakers today, which includes our CEO, Jeff Pradella, Julia Segal from Brain Canada, one of our great partners in this work, KBHN's Chief Scientist, Jen Zwicker, Ray Martins, who's a knowledge broker extraordinaire and family partner, as well as Kelsey Sagan, who is a representative from the National Youth Advocacy Council and is again, great partner of KBHN with ChildBright. We have a jam-packed program with lots of information about our funding opportunity. This will include a Q&A session at the end. However, if you have questions, please share them in the chat throughout the presentation. And again, if you have an expressive need to ask a question, we are very happy to answer that as well. Just please do raise your hand. And with that, I'm just going to share a quick poll to find out who's in the room. And if you could take, please, just a quick second, only 2 questions. I'll let folks answer, and then I will pass it along to our CEO, Jeff Pradella. Thank you all.
Great, thanks, Corey. I'll get started here. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jeff Pradella, as you've heard, CEO of Kids Brain Health Network, Foundation and Innovation Fund, or what we now call collectively KBH Plus. Bonjour tout le monde, je suis Jeff Pradella, directeur général de la santé de cerveau des enfants de la Fondation et de Fonds d'innovation, ce que nous appelons collectivement KBH+. I'm joining you today from the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Siksika, Kainai, Piikani, the Tsuut'ina, the Nakota Nations, including Chiniki, Bears Paw, Goodstoney, Métis Nation, District 5 and 6, and all the people who make their home in the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta. It's a pleasure to welcome you all and to be part of this ambitious, essential, and collaborative work that lies ahead of us. At KBHN, our vision is clear: building a future where all kids with neurodevelopmental disabilities can thrive and reach their full potential. We help them do this. This vision drives everything we do, and it's why we've launched the innovation and implementation programs and this second round of grant competitions. We're a network committed to catalyzing collective action across research, policy, clinical practice, and community to improve outcomes for children and families. But we don't do this alone. We do it in partnership with you, with families, and with leaders across the country. Votre travail est essentiel à notre mission. Your work basically is very essential to our mission. KBH Plus invests in 3 core challenge areas and has done since its inception: the early identification of neurodevelopmental challenges, improved access to effective interventions, and enhanced supports for children and families. These are the areas where Canada can lead and frankly should lead, to ensure that all children receive support at the right time and in the right place. Our work is made possible through the Strategic Science Fund, and we're very proud to be one of the organizations chosen by Innovation, Science, and Economic Development Canada to receive support through this initiative. This photo was taken at one of our funded project team's labs in 2024 and was part of the federal announcement of the Strategic Science Fund results. So pictured here are members of the KBHN team, alongside the local MP and Minister Terry Beach, researchers, clinicians, and families. Collaboration and partnership are at the heart of our model. It's frankly our strength. We work together to move science to solutions, and that's what the innovation and implementation programs are designed to grow. These programs also align with the goals of the Strategic Science Fund itself, to increase the quality of research in Canada, to grow world-class talent in Canada, and to accelerate the transition of knowledge into action. This is what we're aiming to achieve with your help. As we launch these programs, I want to emphasize this is truly a shared effort. Achieving meaningful impact for children with neurodevelopmental challenges and their families requires strong partnerships. One of our most valued partners in this work is Brain Canada, whose support of our programs I want to acknowledge because it's hugely appreciated. We're excited to learn more about your ideas and support you in bringing them to these children and families. Nous avons de célébrer encore plus que nous pouvons accomplir ensemble. Thank you for your engagement and time today. We look forward to celebrating even more of what we can accomplish together. Thanks very much. Back to you, Corey.
Thank you very much. And in that conversation about collaboration, really thrilled to have Julia Segal on the call, and I'll pass it to her.
Thank you, Corey. Hi, everyone. My name is Julia Siegel. I'm a program manager at Brain Canada, which is a national funding organization that funds brain research. I'm joining you from where I live, work, and play on the traditional ancestral territory of the Kanien'kehá:ka peoples. At Brain Canada, our vision is bold science for brain health, and we accomplish this by supporting research with a focus on any and all aspects of brain health, from mental health to brain cancer and to neurodevelopment, among many other topics. And for your information, we fund 4 types of grants: team grants, capacity building grants, platform grants, and knowledge mobilization grants. Our grants are funded through the Canada Brain Research Fund, which is an arrangement with the Government of Canada where we match federal funds with funds from like-minded partners, sponsors, and donors. So we're really pleased to partner on this important initiative with KBHN. We're really excited for the potential to have a significant real-world impact on people in Canada living with neurodevelopment disorders and their families.
Thank you so much, Julia. And now passing it over to Jen Zwicker, our Chief Scientist.
Great, thanks, Tori. Hi, everybody. I just wanted to also acknowledge that I'm calling in from Calgary, which is same as Jeff, the traditional territories of the people of Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta. And the city of Calgary is home to the Métis Nation of Alberta Districts 5 and 6. First of all, just really excited to have everybody here, and really excited for this kind of second call for our innovation and implementation projects. I'm just going to go through a little bit of information on sort of an overview of the 2 different streams we have, and kind of we can answer any questions at the end. So to start off with, as a bit of an overview, the whole purpose of this call is KBHN is trying to fund impact. You know, we really want to get research impacting the community, children with neurodevelopmental disabilities and their families, and all the partners that are affiliated. So our implementation and innovation programs are designed to advance or scale projects that are really ready for this implementation or commercialization, and can really advance KBHN's mandate to make a difference in the lives of children and youth with neurodevelopmental disabilities and their families. So, you know, just really hold that at the core. That is the intent of this call, and what we're trying to fund. So, you know, that might mean you're trying to scale a proven solution or product, you're adapting a community-driven model, you're translating research with near-term implementation or commercialization viability. If that sounds like you, then we really want to help accelerate your impact. So with the innovation program, it's really designed to establish a pipeline of projects that demonstrates strong near-term potential for implementation or commercialization readiness to really advance KBHN's mandate within this program. So successful project teams can request up to $100,000 a year for up to 2 years from funders, and a 1-to-1 partner match funding of KBHN funding is required within this stream. Some of the specifics around the projects are really that I guess I just wanted to highlight that you must demonstrate some potential for national scope. We're not necessarily expecting national scope, but there should be potential to be moving in that direction. So then we'll move on to the implementation stream. And the implementation program is really aimed at supporting large-scale implementation projects and positioned to bridge the gap between scientific innovation and the uptake on a national scale. So successful projects are really expected to achieve measurable advances in social solutions, or changes to practice or policy, or digital or biomedical innovations, or new commercial products that really contribute to improving the quality of life for children with neurodevelopmental disabilities and their families. So these are meant to be larger in scale, and that's reflected in the funding allocated to these projects. So successful projects teams can request up to $200,000 a year for 2 years from funders, and a 1-to-1 partner match funding for this is also required. You know, one of the delineations is also like there is an expectation of kind of broader scale of the projects within more of the national sphere. So kind of keen to be moving outside of any one single implementation and kind of thinking about scale, at least beyond a single site. Yeah, I think that's kind of what I wanted to touch on there. So the other really cool thing about about this call is we welcome applications from a range of partners or groups that want to submit. So this could be, of course, academics at Canadian universities or college. That's kind of what we typically think of in research funding calls. Can be research institutes or health organizations. Can also be led by not-for-profit organizations and community groups. We welcome applications from entrepreneurs, private sector, and any sort of kind of cross-sector partnerships and collaboratives are really encouraged. So just wanted to emphasize that this doesn't, while the traditional kind of academic funding model does persist, there's certainly opportunity for a range of partners to apply to this call. And also just wanted to emphasize that all applications and projects must include persons with lived and living experience as equal team members. So that's a component that's really important. The other component we require is that there's someone with implementation expertise on the project team. So these are elements that we believe in strongly for success to really achieve that goal of impact. And it is a requirement in the applications. So the great news is we have some wonderful people here to talk to you about family engagement and research. And if you need some advice on kind of where to go with your application, I'm going to hand it off to Rachel to speak to that.
Thanks so much, Jen. Hi, everyone. My name is Ray Martins. I am also out in Calgary, Alberta. I am a part of a program called the Family Engagement and Research Training Program, which which KBHN has been a supportive partner for many years. I function as a knowledge broker, and if you're unfamiliar with that term, I'm essentially a bridge builder towards creating healthy partnerships between researchers and people with lived experience, and not just from a functional standpoint, but also from a healthy partnership standpoint. Because it's not just about participation in the collection of information, it's becoming a person with an equal seat at the table, as mentioned in terms of this particular grant as well, too. Partnership is something that I take very personally as a disabled person myself and a bereaved caregiver to a disabled individual, is that when we say nothing about us without us, that is a statement that is born out of protest, and it is a human right for someone to have a voice that reflects their lived experience in spaces like this as well, too. But we also know that the notion of engagement as a partners with implementation, that it is always beneficial to have some level of support. So within my work as mentoring people through the processes of developing healthy partnerships, I have this partnership with KBHN within this grant to be a support to you in terms of thinking about how you approach this within the development of your grant. I cannot be a part of your grant, unfortunately. I would love to help out you all in that capacity, but schedules are only spread so thin. But at the same time, to give you advice and help you create a best start for your project. I am very passionate about this, and I'm happy to be a support to you in varied capacities, whether you are starting out or you would just like some validation in terms of what approach you are considering in this capacity. So please do reach out to me. You can either reach out to me through anyone at Kids Brain Health, or I will also put my email in the chat and you can reach out to me directly as well too. I look forward to hearing from you. And I'd like to challenge you with this as well too. It is one thing to have a resource, to know that it's available. It's another thing to use it. I offer this invitation to people a lot. Because it's a bit of a joke and it's a bit memorable in the sense of being my own form of implementation science, because people remember that silly little joke that that person said. I like to think of myself as the Olive Garden of people. When you're here, your family. And so come visit your family. I'm here and ready to help you in any capacity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ray. I will visit you much more readily than Olive Garden. I think that's fantastic. I think also just to underline, working with people with lived and living experience is some of the most important ways to inform our work, especially at the implementation level, to ensure that the work we're doing is really having the desired impact, that we're understanding the barriers, the facilitators. It's all part of making sure we do better for kids. So really excited to be able to support the family engagement and research teams. There's so many incredible graduates that have come out of that program, and we know that there are many folks willing and ready to support your projects. So if you don't already have somebody identified as a person with lived or living experience as part of your project team, please reach out. We'd be thrilled to try to find ways to connect you so that you have that invaluable additional team member to help drive your project forward. Another incredible speaker will be Kelsey Seguin from the National Youth Advisory Council, a joint partnership between Child Bright and KBHN. And again, just underlining the really invaluable importance of people with lived and living experience. So I'll pass it over to Kelsey.
Thanks, Corey. So I am a PhD student at the University of Ottawa in rehabilitation science. As Corey mentioned, I'm also part of the uh, ENYAC National Youth Advocacy Council. So here I am just to talk to you about what the ENYAC does. So the ENYAC has been in partnership with KBHN for a little bit now. Our primary goal as an advisory council is to advise Child Bright funded projects, KBHN projects, and other research initiatives. We're available to inform research development. We're approximately 10 youth with brain-based developmental disabilities from across 5 provinces in Canada. As an additional note, I will say that through our consultations with researchers can come ask about research materials, knowledge mobilization, materials recruitment, and working with youth with brain-based developmental disabilities. Researchers may work with ENYAC members as youth partners on their projects in partnership with Child Bright. They may come ask about their perspectives on a project that they're working on, questions and results, and researchers and organizations developing their own youth council are welcome to come ask the ENYAC about this. That'll be all. Thanks, Corey.
Thank you, Kelsey. And again, KBHN is really excited to be able to be supporting some of these incredible initiatives that really help advance research and implementation across the country. So we encourage teams that are curious to reach out, and we can find opportunities to help leverage that work. I'll pass it back to Jen to continue along about some of the application pieces.
All right, thanks, Corey. So a little bit more details on the application process itself. And of course, a lot of this or all of this information is on our website, and you can feel free to reach out if you have any questions about anything we cover here. So the applications are required. First of all, the proposals must focus on, of course, advancing the mandate of Kids Brain Health Network, as we talked about. We are expecting proposals to certainly advance rigorous scientific evidence and contribute to strengthening evidence-based decision-making or innovation skill development or building a solutions-focused science culture. We're also expecting that proposals demonstrate potential to increase accessibility of solutions to diverse, vulnerable, or underserved populations. So these are elements that we're that would be important to ensure that applications are addressing. And within the application, there needs to be written commitment that funders' investment in the research will be matched from external sources at the ratio of at least 1-to-1 matched cash or in kind. And we'll talk about some of the kind of specifics around that in the next slides. So with matched funding, this must be contributions that are cash or in kind to be spent on the project. And so that letter needs to kind of detail that the funds would be spent on related to the project proposal that you're submitting. And the match funds cannot include any federal source, including all federal sources that flow through sort of separate entities. So this would include tri-council agency funding, federal funding to other organizations, kinds of things. So while those sources of funding don't count as match funding, they could potentially be leveraging. So that's encouraged. And match funds for this competition cannot have been reported as match funding for another federal program. So just kind of keeping that in mind as you're working through some of that. So then to be considered for Brain Canada support, this is where there's a little bit of distinction to be aware of. Brain Canada funds must be matched at a minimum 1-to-1. That's common across the entire application, and by non-federal funding secured by the applicant, but only cash contributions may be used as matched funding. And in-kind contributions are not eligible. So that's the distinction for the kind of different funding pools we have available. To be considered for the Brain Canada funding that's available, it would need to have cash matched funding rather than in kind. The other element is just that the nominated principal investigator and one team member at an eligible Canadian institution must be the lead on the application for the Brain Canada support. Oh, what slide are we on here? Sorry. Yeah, thanks, Corey. Just one back. Yeah, perfect. And you must be independent researcher. So that's kind of the other piece to be aware of for kind of Brain Canada support within kind of the funding pools we have available. So just something to be mindful of as you're submitting an application, certainly to be kind of able to access kind of the full funding pool we have available, keeping those elements in mind. All right, on the next slide. So other elements we're wanting to have included are detailed plans for sustainability of this initiative beyond the term of the funding. So this might include a commercialization strategy. It might include scaling and implementation into practice and sort of details around the plans around that. We do want projects to come in with sort of already having thought about where you'd be going next after this funding ends and how this funding is going to help you get there. And the reason for this is because, like I said at the beginning, we want to fund impact, and we think we can help, foster the road to impact along the way. But we also know that there needs to be plans early for kind of thinking about how you'd be sustainable. So a little bit more into the details of the procedure. So the nominated PI must be eligible to receive operating funds from the Strategic Science Fund. However, the PI or co-PI may be from partner organizations. So, these organizations could include federal, provincial, or territorial government agencies, post-secondary institutions, research hospitals, not-for-profit organizations, Indigenous organizations or governments, municipalities, research networks, public engagement networks, companies that deliver public engagement activities, industry, including startup companies housed at Canadian post-secondary institutions. So quite a broad list. So just kind of keeping some of those pieces in mind. We have a number of templates on our website and encourage you and expect you to use those templates. And of course, our applications can be submitted online through our website. So that is the process for submission. And if you have any questions about those, let us know, or if you have any challenges kind of accessing them. Timelines are, the deadline is October 3rd at 6 p.m. Pacific. And the request for proposals obviously was launched June 19th, and our anticipated award start date is March 2026. We last time had a large number of applications submitted, as you're probably all familiar with. In processes, we just can't really accept late applications, as we kind of immediately need to be starting the process of review of those applications. A little bit more on sort of what a full application might include. There are different elements. Will include a description of the project team. This is including details on the nominated PI, co-PI, co-applicant, collaborators, partners, stakeholders, and this is 1 page maximum. Encourage you to really focus on the pieces that are relevant to the application. Again, keeping in mind, really, we're trying to make a case for how you're going to have impact and how this team is going to help your application have impact. So that's what we really want to see in this 1 page description of how the team is going to help the project get there. There's a statement on equity, diversity, inclusivity, and underrepresented groups. So thinking about how you're addressing that and considering that in your application, and requesting an abstract, which is 1 page maximum. Really encourage you to put some time into that abstract because, you know, with a review committee that's reviewing kind of a wide range of applications, certainly it's important to really give kind of a good overview of the project right from the start. The full application must include references and a lay summary, which is the 200 words, the budget justification with the use of our budget template. And then we are allowing letters of support and would really encourage and almost expect to see letters of support from your partners and groups that are engaged in the project, just because it does really signal kind of a strong commitment to the project. As we noted, there's a requirement for kind of justification that there is the existence of the match funding, so that would be kind of at a minimum in the letters of support. We're also asking for the PI, co-PI, and co-applicant CVs. We're open to taking more of a kind of a narrative. So I think what we say on application is the CHR Common CV is sort of the template that we're suggesting, but we're open to an equivalent format. We're kind of recognizing that CV format, especially for partners, might be not really super viable process to go through. So certainly kind of the move in Tri-Council to sort of that narrative CV format would be very welcome as a submission for the CV template. The proposal itself is looking for it's a 10-page maximum. In that you would provide a detailed explanation of the project objectives, methods, outcomes, evaluation plan, and would look for some details on timelines and key milestones. You would need to be describing the role and contribution of each team member of the project team, and really provide a detailed plan for the sustainability of the initiative beyond the term of the funding. And hopefully, again, that message is kind of coming through. And the reason for that structure and why we're looking for information is we want to, first of all, know about, you know, the rigor that you're going to use to kind of get to the outcomes that you're looking to achieve in the project. But we're also wanting to make sure you have the pieces in place and the plan in place for impact kind of sustainability going forward. To that end, we haven't said the word impact enough today. We have a whole statement about it. So we're really looking for a statement that will give a sense of the metrics that you're looking to assess within the project. So how you would articulate kind of the project's success within the application. So this could be things like the number of children and families who will benefit, the number of and type of knowledge user organizations. It could be things like expected new policies or practices that would occur from innovation uptake, some new intellectual property that might be created, new or expanded market for commercialization. So there's a wide range of impacts that could occur. We're just looking for you to articulate what those might be. This is a new addition to the application this year, and it's a piece that we added particularly to kind of give more context around feasibility. And it's a summary of progress. So we're looking for, some of you may be familiar with this from CIHR as other applications that tend to use this. It's really a one-page narrative that is intended to give a bit more of a holistic view of any sort of work going on, particularly from the PIs on the project, principal investigators on the project, uh, in the sense of how this project fits into kind of any other work that you might have going on or funding within that space. We're really trying to position what you're proposing within your overall program of research, why the funding's needed, and how it might differ from other grants held or applications held. You know, the intent again is to really give a good sense of that there's feasibility for accomplishing this project. Like the team has time to take on kind of what's being proposed. That there's not obviously a duplication of funding kind of allocated, and that you're able to kind of build or leverage off of elements that you've already achieved. So just really telling that story of how this fits within the team, and also articulating the time and capacity of the team to achieve the project as described. And then, of course, Kids Brain Health Network funded projects should aim to increase accessibility of solutions for underserved populations. And we encourage a special emphasis on underrepresented groups. And projects with this focus are really highly encouraged. So just kind of wanted to emphasize this is a key element of the application for a consideration. So all of this really happens through an amazing team that we have within KBHN, which includes our Programs Advisory Committee. This is a picture of members of last year's program or the past competitions Program Advisory Committee. It is an outstanding group of individuals who come from many sectors and geographies across Canada. And it was just such a privilege and pleasure to work with this group. And some will be continuing on into the Program Advisory Committee in the upcoming year. And we're kind of working on the renewal of that committee. So just wanted to say, first of all, a huge thank you to the tremendous work that this group did within very kind of accelerated timelines last year. And, you know, certainly recognize that it was a real pleasure and a process to work with them. And I think the last thing we were going to touch on today in the presentation before we go to questions is to give you a little bit of information on another funding stream we'll be launching in the upcoming months. And this is our Indigenous stream, which is really dedicated to support First Nations, Inuit, and Métis-led initiatives that improve outcomes for Indigenous children and youth with neurodevelopmental disabilities and their families and their communities. It's going to be a funding stream where it will really prioritize partnerships. And we just are so excited about our partnership, again, with Brain Canada on this. We also welcome other partners who may want to get on board for kind of for supporting this stream as well. So kind of if you know of other groups that want to be also partnering on this project or funding stream, we're welcoming that. But it's just sort of an early call to let you know that this will be coming. If you feel like there's a project that perhaps may fit this, but you're also interested in applying to the implementation innovation program, we're not saying you can't apply to both. So it's certainly something that you can consider, but it's just sort of an early flag that this is coming up, and we'll be providing more details in the coming months.
Thank you so very much, Jen. And for all the folks on the call, thank you for taking your time to join us and learn a bit more about our funding streams.